game plan has been different each week, and so this one called for the tight end to have a couple catches.
You know, and Chris, you had your first interception. You know, being your first year as the full-time starter and getting your first pick, what was that like?
I mean, it was an amazing feeling, you know, getting an interception, just trying to help my team win the game. You know, I thought it was going to be a game changer. But, you know, it was some things that didn't work for us in the game. You know, but like I said before, I would give my first career interception back just to get the W.
Would you give it to Adoree? Because it looked like he almost took it out of his hands.
Yeah, actually on the play, it was actually his man that they were throwing the ball to, but I stepped in front of it, and he was right there as well. So if I wasn't there, Adoree Jackson was going to pick it himself.
You almost got another one late in the game, didn't you?
Yeah, I got my hands on it, but I dropped it. It's just some things that I got to come up with to help my team.
You know, Randall, all year we've talked about the up-tempo offense and the adjustment that you guys have had to make from the offensive side of the ball. For you as a tight end, you know, how do you like it? Because, you know, you're one of the guys that stays on the field. There's a lot of guys rotating. You're not one of them that rotates a lot. What's the biggest change for you?
Well, I mean, it is difficult. Something that I'm not used to, but given my past, I've been in an offense where I was the only tight end, and where I was one of two, and so I've taken a lot of reps, and our strength and conditioning staff has done a pretty good job of keeping us well conditioned.
Take us through, we were talking about pass blocking, and you mentioned you've done a lot of blocking this year. What were you guys seeing on that offensive line? It seemed like BC was coming at you from a lot of different angles.
Yeah, they were doing some things that we haven't seen, so we had some unscouted looks. But one of the biggest things, one of the biggest issues was the communication between the O-line, tight ends, fullbacks, running backs, and it's unfortunate what happened, but you know, we're just looking forward to this week to try and fix it and learn.
What does that mean? Yeah, take us through communication. We're just talking about that a little bit with Coach. I mean, is it the crowd noise that's causing issues? You have to use some silent signals, or what were the communication issues?
It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of the crowd noise. It's a little bit of the anxiety. We have some young guys on the team, and you know, when you're down against a team that you thought you were going to beat, and people start to get a little anxious and a little worried, and so, you know, hands start going up in the air, and people don't know what to do.
You know, Chris, one thing that's been going well for you is, you know, throughout the season, they've been putting more and more responsibility on the cornerbacks. You know, coming into the season, they're like, oh, look, he's his first-time starter, and I saw a lot of help coverage. Now, they're locking you up in a lot of man-to-man coverages. You know, take me through the difference, and how much do you like the man-to-man challenge as opposed to, you know, the zones?
Yeah, I mean, as a first-time corner, you know, they didn't want to put a lot on my plate at the beginning of the season, but I think we're far into the season now to where they like to stack the box and leave the corners man-on-man, you know. But as a corner, that's your dream, you know, playing man-on-man coverage. You know, some teams you got to play a lot of zone, but this is one of those teams where we felt like our corners and safeties outmatched their receivers. So it was something that they put on us, and I think we succeeded in the pass game.
You weren't supposed to be a starter, at least not with two corners on the field, and then obviously Kevon was sort of slow getting into fall camp, so you were sort of a starter at the beginning of fall camp. Then Josh Shaw doesn't break camp with the team. Did you have a mental point where you switched and you said, okay, you know, I'm the man now, I have to take responsibility, or did you go into camp thinking that way?
You know, my mindset going into camp was that I was going to leave as a starter. You know, last spring I was a starter throughout the whole thing because Josh Shaw was hurt, and you know, I knew Kevon his stomach was messed up going into fall camp. So my mindset was I was always going to be the starter, and that's how I took it every day forward. Even when Kevon came back, I was still trying to play my butt off, doing everything I can, doing all the calls, doing all the signals, so that the coaches saw that I could be a starter.
You know, Randall, with the offensive line, I mean, you being a veteran guy, but you got a lot of young guys around you. How are you helping to get those guys up to speed in terms of their offensive line assignments, blocking, sort of understanding of the game and the environment that these young guys have played in for the first time?
I mean, it's not as difficult as you might think. The young guys that we have are pretty knowledgeable, and they're down-to-earth kids, and so they've taken a lot to the coaching and a lot to the advice of the older guys.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about Bryce Dixon a little bit. You know, he got off to a hot start against BC, hot start to the season, hot start against BC. He had a drop in the game and sort of drifts out of the game. You were a young player. You remember, is it different now? Are you able to have a short-term memory? Is that something you talked to him about?
Yeah, I talked to him about it, but he's a player where, yeah, like you said before, he has a short-term memory, and he was just anxious to get back in the game. And so unfortunately, he couldn't get back in the game, but after the game, I talked to him and said, listen, you know, we're not going to have the best game every game. We might come with a win, with a loss. But he understood that, and I'm excited to see what he has to do for us this season.
You know, Chris, for you guys as a defense, what's sort of been the, you know, the emphasis or things that have been put on your guys' plate, you know, coming off a loss? I mean, it's a lot different, obviously, for the players, you know, coming off a loss versus coming off a win. But what's been the focus for you guys as a unit to make sure that what happened Saturday doesn't happen again?
You know, just knowing what we're doing. You know, they came out in some looks that we hadn't seen in practice, and our coaches made some great adjustments. Just as players, we got to put it on ourselves to know what we're doing during the game. We can't have brain farts like we had on Saturday so that it doesn't happen again.
How strange of a game was that for you at corner? I think he threw 13 times the whole game, maybe once or twice in the whole second half. I mean, this day and age, you know, you're going to face teams later on in the season. Washington State, they'll try to throw it 60 times on you. And these guys, you know, it's just like 90s Nebraska football. How strange was it for you at corner?
I mean, it was kind of strange because I'm used to, you know, playing pass coverage, not really having a lot of support in the run. But in the second half, they made it an emphasis to put the corner in the run game. And, you know, it was some things that they did to where they were able to block a lot of us, and I had to show up and make some tackles.
And, Randall, for you guys, is it one of those situations where this week the bye week is good? Or is this one of those situations where, look, I wish I was playing on Saturday so I don't have to hear any more about last week's game?
I mean, as a player, you always want to play as soon as you can. But we're going to take this bye week and use it as a learning experience and try and teach the team and learn as much as we can, because although some you know, people might feel that this is an off week, like Coach Stark said, this is a get better week and a learn week.
I hate to laugh about it, but I mean, you've seen everything here. I mean, you're certainly no stranger to adversity. I mean, it's just sort of used to everything that's gone on this season, then a loss. I mean, you feel like you can handle anything at this point?
Just about, yeah. You know, at the end of the day, you just got to take a deep breath and understand, you know, we're privileged and blessed to be where we are. And you know, if anyone knows how to handle adversity, it's definitely UNC.
That is for sure. A lot of football left to be played. Randall, Talfer, Chris Hawkins, thank you guys so much. We'll be back at the Coliseum in no time. We'll wipe away this BC game, head for Oregon State. Game on, make your move today to the Lorenzo, the most talked about apartment community at the University of Southern California. Upscale student living is waiting for you. Hurry, spaces are going fast. Don't miss out. Immediate occupancy. Visit thelorenzo.com or call 213-863-4307. Next up, we're going to talk to the hottest team in Troy right now, USC women's soccer. They are unbeaten in the Kidani McAlpine era. We're going to talk to two of their stars coming up next on Trojans Live.
Murphy will